welcome to another episode of the More Than a Side Hustle podcast, where we help 9-to-5ers create more impact, income, and influence. And apologies, I am extremely congested, so I'm going to pass it up to my co-host.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming back to hear us another week. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing. Thank you for listening in. And go ahead and write us a review. Now, I thought about, so what we're going to be talking, what we're going to be talking about today is how we went on our anniversary trip, or really any trip, while the business still ran, basically. I know that's a question that people have. How do you step apart from that without being worried about the business? So we want to talk about the tea of that. But then I just thought that generally we have a topic that we discussed before and we didn't think about one.
There's always going to be a topic that we can discuss before.
We can go back to the iced tea conversation. Or Ice Cube, not iced tea.
So we were talking about, before we get to the business, this is actually a business conversation. We were talking about what is a generational talent versus an icon. And are they the same things?
Well, it became a conversation of how it's difficult for some of these. We understand how it could be difficult for celebrities, actors, anyone really that are in that space to make it through 20 years. And those that have made it through 20 years, more than likely it has been because of business, that they're still standing strong, or we still talk about them in some capacity, is because of business. And I made the example of Beyoncé. Well, she still has music out, but Beyoncé, Jay-Z, Rihanna, and Diddy. Before the mess with what's happening Diddy now, like, these are people that's made it through the years. And Rihanna hasn't put out an album in a bit, but she has her Fenty and everything. Diddy, his liquor, all these other things. And Jay-Z, he may get a pass because he's married to Beyonce, but he has business things as well. As opposed to someone like, let's say, Bow Wow. Bow Wow was, and may still call him an icon, if you will. He was the biggest thing out. There's many people that was the biggest thing out, but they just haven't transcended. Oh, another person like Mary J. Blige. She was the biggest thing out. We still know who she is, but it's not necessarily new music coming out. I know she drops albums, things like that. So it's very hard, we were saying, to just make it through the years without at least having the business side of it. So the conversation came up about Ice Cube because one of his songs was on this morning. And what song was playing?
Yeah, so Ice Cube was Today's a Good Day. That song came out early, 90s or something, right? And I was just like, wow, it's crazy to listen to someone who's been around for so long talk about, I didn't have to use my gun. Today was a good day. And I'm like, he's been around for so long, you don't even think about him in that aspect. Right. And that's how this conversation started to come up.
And I had said, I was like, well, he's not really relevant today. And you were like, what do you mean he's not relevant today?
You were talking about in terms of age demographic. So what makes someone culturally relevant? Is it based on your mom knowing them and talking to you about it, or do you have to be a 5-year-old kid to know that Ice Cube even exists?
Well, there's two things. You said culturally relevant versus just relevant. I was measuring relevancy amongst demographics and age groups. So not just us as Black people knowing who they are in this day and age. So I was saying, yes, people 30 plus know who Ice Cube is. And the only way, if you're younger than that, and let's say 27 plus, sure. If you're younger than that, you may know who he is, because on TBS, they just showed one of those comedy movies he was in. Yep. Are We There Yet? TBS. Those type of movies that he played in, whatever. But you may not really have the understanding of this song that he's singing to who he is now. I feel that falls on us as people that are maybe 30 plus and knowing who it is. So I was saying relevancy. And Anthony was like, well, he just sold this basketball team, his company. It's not a team.
He sold one of his teams in the Big 3 tournament, which is his basketball tournament for like $10 million. And I'm like, you making $10 million and making the news doesn't make you relevant?
And I said, I didn't even know he did that. That was one point.
Number one, you don't know a lot of things about.
Okay. Yeah, but I am in the cultural space. Am I not?
Are we talking about just the cultural space or just the space in general?
The space. So he did that, and you know about it because it was a business decision. That's the thing. So he did that, right? And then I said, have you watched the Big 3 game? He said, yes. How long ago was that? Maybe 3 years ago. I haven't heard anything about the Big 3 in a really long time. And probably because the Big 3 are for retired people as well. Back to age, back to knowing more about this Big 3 because of...
So if you Google Ice
If you
Cube.
Google, but who's Googling him if you don't know him?
If you Google Ice Cube and type and go to news section, it tells you the last relevant article was 5 days ago. You know why?
Because Cat Williams spoke about him?
No, because he's going on a Las Vegas tour concert.
Who knew
Concert
that?
tour.
And who is going to that?
I'm just saying.
30-plus-year-old. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not relevant to someone. Everyone's relevant to someone. But when you think about really making an impact, transcending, and I'm not saying he doesn't do stuff on the back end. He could do stuff on the back end, but more than likely it's measured by things we know that these celebrities or other people are doing.
And Jack in the Box gave him his own munchie meal.
So they feel that he's relevant.
Yeah, so I would say he's relevant.
Well, that was the conversation. And I still stand on, I'm not saying we don't know who he is, which I think certain people probably will not, but I'm sure those 4 people I mentioned at the beginning, a lot more people would know, okay?
Yeah, based on their age alone, they're 10 years younger than him.
Is Jay-Z and Diddy 10 years younger than him?
I have no idea. Stop
Probably
saying
not.
the other guy's name on my podcast. Too.
Okay, well, this, as I mentioned, I'm mentioning him in the business space, not in that space, whatever.
But I think the story was really around just
transcending to the business.
Yeah,
pivoting.
so no one's going to be able to exist in music unless you're someone like Michael Jackson, right? Where we only know Michael Jackson for his business, his music moves, right?
Probably because he died too young to.
Yes, we never even got to see Michael Jackson on a business side, if there was any business things that were going on. But these people who are younger, especially, they were like, all right, we see what these other musicians are doing. And who was talking about Kid Rock? You know who Kid Rock is?
Of course I know who Kid Rock is.
We talking about Kid Rock on the music side, but Kid Rock on the business side, go look him up, right? I'm not even going to get into that whole, but we're talking about transcending generations. Our culture is seeing what these other demographics of people are doing, and they're like, how do I last for 20, 30 years? And it's not going to be making new songs.
Music. Generally, it's not just music.
Especially now, we got so many ways to make the money that we want to make. It's like, we're not going to be able to last 20 years by just making new songs. And it's only so long that people even actually want to hear about your music, because you're not even relevant to the people who are like Ice Cube.
Ice Cube.
He comes out with a song today, and it's about killing people. It's like, well, we're off that. We're not talking about killing people
Even
anymore.
if he come out with something today that wasn't about killing, how far you think it's going on the radio?
I mean, even if you think about Jay-Z and Nas, they don't go as far as they used to, because it's like,
that's true.
People are like, oh, Jay-Z's not relevant to the culture anymore in terms of his music, because he's not talking about big pimping. He's talking about, now I'm a billionaire, here's what I'm able to do. Yeah, it's just different layers of conversation when it comes to how do you stay relevant for so long doing something
Which
different.
I think is difficult. I think it's difficult to do the same thing and stay relevant.
Yeah.
Like just only music, it's really hard to just do that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just think about our journey, we were like, talking about the family stuff and then talking about the debt freedom stuff and then talking about the cleaning business stuff. And eventually, we won't even be talking about that anymore. It'll be,
wow, that's true.
It might be, all right, well, we sold off our cleaning business. Now we don't, now it's just like, all right, now we got just the education business. Or maybe it's not even the education business. Maybe we're talking about something else we're doing. Maybe we're talking about the family more than the business stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how do you transition over the course of those years and stay relevant?
And not to say you're not allowed to. You absolutely are allowed to. But I guess whatever you do, you try to do it so that you do stay on top.
Yeah.
In any capacity. So, all right, well, Ice Cube, we're not haters here of him at all.
I said he was relevant. You said he wasn't.
I said he's not.
I said he's an icon. You said he wasn't.
No, I didn't say he wasn't an icon. You can be an icon and not relevant. That's the issue too.
Okay.
That's a different conversation.
For another day. So let us know. That was our little band. That's literally, we have a conversation and it's about the business and it's about culture and this is all infused. So this is really what our podcast is about. We talking about Ice Cube, the family man, Ice Cube, the AK-47 today. Then we talking about Ice Cube.
Oh, he got a son that look like him.
$10 million. Right?
I do know that.
$10 million basketball team.
Thank you guys for coming back again. Be sure to leave us a review or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching us at. So thank you.
Appreciate you guys watching us. See you next week.
Bye.
Peace.